Alrighty, everyone. Randall King has finally released his sophomore studio album, Shot Glass, and it is time to talk about it. Randall King is the latest artist to drop a full length LP as release season has begun to truly dawn upon us. We got Miranda Lambert, Zach Bryan, Thomas Rhett, maybe Carrie Underwood at some point. We got Midland coming up, Maren Morris just came out, Haley Witters as well, who actually dropped her record Raised on the same day as Randall. I meant to get these reviews out sooner, but then my kinesiology teacher was like, yo, the upper body, every bone and joint above the waist, memorize it. But not even like the name of the bone. No. He wanted every like indentation of the bone. And I was like, dang, brother. I got some hot country music to talk about. I don't have time for this super spinous fuck. Look, I'm rambling. It's time to dial in on who you're actually here to talk about. Randall King. Randall is a guy from Texas who sort of popped up out of nowhere. At least for me personally, he kind of just appeared out of the blue with all this buzz. Coming off the release of his self-titled debut, people instantly and understandably began comparing Randall to George Strait, given the obvious influence on his sound, as well as even vocally there are a lot of similarities. From a distance, you could almost get the two mixed up. They've both got a very similar texture, very rich and deep in their tone and delivery. It was also at a time where the neo-traditional movement was really starting to gain a lot of steam, so naturally Randall sort of fit right into the mix, which inevitably aided his quick rise to become one of the more prominent up-and-comers in the West Texas scene. I would say the big draw to Randall's debut at the time was his authentic sound. He wasn't trying to gloss up his style, he wasn't trying to bring anything new to the table musically. He was just delivering down the middle, West Texas country, calling back to eras like the 90s with a very steel and electric driven sound, a lot of fiddle as well. Lyrically, the cuts were very approachable, broad in a sense that he was talking about ideas and a lifestyle that a large group of people could relate to, but he wasn't doing it in a manufactured way. Everything felt super lived. He also took and still takes himself very lightly in his music, often delivering songs with a comedic edge that I think just made him that much easier to become a fan of. My favorite song from that record was easily Mirror Mirror. It's a super longing, sorrowful tune, playing on the idea from Snow White with Randall saying mirror mirror on the wall, who's the biggest fool of all. The concept just makes so much sense. Being a reflective song, he's asking the mirror to be his crystal ball and show him how this girl's doing, but it's a mirror and it just forces Randall to stare at the reflection of himself. Brilliant song. If you haven't heard it before, definitely check it out. But from there, output-wise, Randall somewhat toned it back. In 2020, he dropped this compact 4-song EP, Leanna, that was really something. 3 originals and a cover of the iconic gospel tune, I'll Fly Away. The second track, Hey Moon, cracked my top 20 songs of 2020. If you know the story behind the Leanna EP, it was quite an emotional release for Randall, but also a quality one. It had a lot of fans, myself included, just craving any Randall King output we could get, but that wouldn't come until the latter half of 2021 when he started releasing teasers for this album that we finally have today, the record we are here to talk about, Shot Glass. On the whole, right off the bat, I think this is a solid body of work. It's 11 tracks, just over half an hour long, so it's not by any means a juggernaut of a record, but like the rest of Randall's discography, it comes, serves its purpose, and gets on its way with no unnecessary clutter. Sonically, it's exactly what you'd expect from Randall based on his output so far. It feels like it was pulled straight from 1995. The palette at its core is composed of organic percussion, acoustic, electric, and steel guitars, lots of fiddle intertwined as well, and Randall's demandingly smooth voice at the forefront of every song. The album never loses focus or wanders off into any other territory. Wherever you turn, you will be met with this raw, Texas sound built for a honky-tonk and satisfies every craving you could want from this style of music. Whether it be the drinking songs set right in a bar like Record High, Roger Miller Light and Me, the flirtier songs like Can't You Feel How That Sounds, Baby Do, or my personal favorite from the album, You and a Honky Tonk, or the more honest emotional cuts like Middle of Nowhere Church, as well as the title track Shot Glass. I also really enjoyed the 7th track, Hard Way to Make It Rain, which is all about the constant grind of a touring musician who hasn't yet broke through as a mainstream star. As Randall puts it, it's a thrilling journey, and it's a good way to make a living, but a hard way to make it rain. And I just think that line is super clever, and I think it fits right in with the major themes of this album, themes encompassing all the aspects of the Texas country lifestyle. My only criticism of this record is that it's really nothing new from Randall, and I mean that in regard to time as well as artistic territory. Like I said earlier, the music on here is solid, but Randall's not really taking any risks or trying that hard to evolve his style. I'm not saying he needs to change anything because the music is still great. If he wants to, he could easily put on cruise control and coast to success because there's difference between coasting when your music is at Randall's level as opposed to someone like Jason Aldean who seems more than content to put as little effort into his music as possible. But from a critical standpoint, this album does feel pretty safe, which can be good or bad depending on how you look at it. It's just, as a fan, I'm not listening to Shot Glass on the edge of my seat, just waiting to see what the next track has to offer, because I know what I'm getting into when I put on a Randall King album. However, the other factor that really numbed my experience with Shot Glass was the fact that, like I said, not only is this nothing particularly new from Randall musically, it's also not really new. There's songs on this record that date all the way back to January of 2020. Baby Do, Record High, You in a Honky Tonk, Around Forever, I'll Fly Away, Hey Cowgirl were all out prior to the official release date. That is over half of the album. So by the time this album finally rolled around, it felt more like the finishing touches to a musical collage Randall has been developing over the last 30 months. It didn't feel like this massive new thing. Maybe if we only had a song or two beforehand, this album would have felt more fresh, more exciting. But as a fan and critic, I kind of sit here like, yeah, the music is good, there's no debate about that. But the project, the moment, it all feels much less significant than I think it should have. Like, I don't necessarily have Shot Glass playing on repeat, mostly because I've already had more than half of it on repeat since early 2020. But again, I do want to reiterate the quality of the music here. Texas country is really beginning to push towards the mainstream, and Randall is quietly becoming one of their frontrunners, with guys like Cody Johnson, Parker McCollum, and several others leading the way. Rating-wise, I'm going to give this album a 7 on the dot. No more, no less, and that is all I've got for you guys today. Be sure to let me know your thoughts on this album in the comments below. Links to my Instagram, Discord, and podcast are all in the description as well. Be sure to like the video if you enjoyed, subscribe if you're new, and yeah, until next time, lots of reviews coming your way, so stay tuned, but have a good one.